Hi, everybody. Welcome to Reader's Intrigue, where authors are going to read the first chapter of their book so that we can be intrigued and maybe find a new book to read. Get comfy, get cozy. Let's listen.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jocie Mckade, author. Feels really good to say that, as I do love the written word and I love being an author. I have written over 15 novels, as well as magazine articles, advertising writing, newspaper, old school. Basically, if there's a way to have a job or an income with the written word, I've probably done it. I have several series which are primarily humorous cozy mystery, cozy thrillers, and romantic comedy. Today, the book I'm going to talk about is Mason-Dixon, The Line is Drawn. And it's the first book in the Mason-Dixon series. The series basically is, well, it kind of came about because I laugh and say I'm my family's token Yankee. Most of my family is from the southern United States, and as a kid, we skipped across that Mason-Dixon line quite a bit. In fact, my mother used to tease that I was pretty adept at going from y'all to you guys in a single sentence. So I thought one day, what would happen if you had a sister and one was raised in the northern U.S. and one was raised in the southern U.S.? How different and how the same they would be. Each one of my characters' parents died. They received a notice to go to Washington, D.C. to finalize some details on their parents' estate, which was odd because neither one of them ever knew of anything their parents had going on in Washington, D.C. Well, as they get to Washington, D.C., and they meet a gentleman, a lawyer, who is about to explain to them everything they could possibly want to know, an assassin's bullet takes him out. They also discover they're not only sisters, they're twin sisters. As the series moves forward, they end up starting a private investigation service, much to the dismay of some people in a program that's kind of like a Whisked program. But they start it in order to learn more about their parents and as a cover as private investigators to investigate. What they didn't count on was dead bodies falling on them and murders to solve. And today I've been asked to read the first chapter of the book, which is the first in the series. There's now 4 books, 5 is coming up. The line is drawn. So this will start the Mason-Dixon series and give you a little intro into the sisters. Mo Sheridan, Esquire, fell to the floor, unleashing an agonizing scream. His perfectly knotted bow tie sagged to one side, and a quickly growing bloom of crimson blood covered his finely tailored shirt. The window overlooking the garden Emmeline Roberts had been admiring was blown into 1,000,000 crystal pieces across the wooden floor. The cranky receptionist, who had kept her waiting for nearly an hour, bolted into the room with a pistol in her hands, shoving Emmeline and the woman she'd met named Jacqueline to the floor. Somehow the receptionist had morphed in seconds from obnoxious, dowdy receptionist into the Black Widow from the Avengers. What was happening? First, Emmeline is gut-punched with the news her father was some sort of a government spook. Then this Mo Sheridan informs her that she has not only a sister, but a twin sister, no less, who is now huddled beside her on the floor as bullets fly and Mo bleeds to death. Emmeline had won the all-state debate conference in Alabama, and now not one word could find its way into her mouth. "Down, stay down," the gun-toting receptionist ordered. Touching her ears, she began talking aloud. "Subjects are secure. 2 shots fired. East window." What the... Jacqueline squirmed in her designer silk skirt, causing her butt to slide a little too quickly across the slick wooden floor. "Who are you?" She struggled like a turtle on its back to turn over, staring at the woman, the receptionist. "Sydney," the woman answered, keeping her gun poised, her eyes flitting around the room. "Stay down. Don't move until I tell you." With that, Sydney rolled toward the door, never losing the grip on her gun, and disappeared. "Girls," Mo's voice crackled behind the desk. "Girls, please." They crawled toward him. Blood poured from a gaping wound in his chest. It was obvious to both of them he wasn't going to survive. Here." He handed him a piece of paper. "Max," he struggled to speak. "Max Sheridan, my brother. Find him." A gurgling sound came from his chest. You can trust him. His eyes went wide and flickered between the two of them. The truth. Don't go home. They will find you there. They think you have the... His mouth opened, but no sound came out. A hard jerk of his body and the last of his breath spilled out in a gush. Crap. Emmeline felt a surge through every vein in her body of sheer panic. Sydney? Jacqueline's voice choked, cracked, barely speaking out, and her perfect demeanor showed severe cracks as she stared toward the door. The guns in the case, Emmeline nodded toward the table, remembering the 9mm that Mo Sheridan had placed there just minutes before the bullets flew. She hunted with her dad for years. If they could reach the case without being shot, she stood a good chance of taking down whoever was after them, although she hadn't heard any more shots since Mo went down. Jacqueline was nearest the table, struggling to stay hidden behind an ugly leather chair sitting angled to one side and offering a bit of protection. That move would leave her head exposed. She had ugly visions of ducks in a shooting gallery with her head being the duck. Jacqueline crawled slowly around the desk, lifting her well-manicured fingers. She used only the palms of her hands to crawl. Her butt was way too high. Her head was sticking up like a watermelon, and each time she moved forward, a gold bracelet banged against the wooden floor, or her ridiculously pointed shoes, her designer shoes no doubt, chattered like a stapler on the wooden floor. Obviously, this woman did not crawl very much. Kick those shoes off, honey, and move a little faster before whoever is shooting waltzes in that door and kills us both. Jackie flipped her off, reached up and yanked the case to the floor. Each one took a gun, expertly checked it, shoved the clip into it, and took the safety off. Then they stared slowly at each other. Hunting with my dad, Emmeline explained. Target shooting with my mom, Jacqueline nodded. It's time to clear out. They heard Sydney come back into the room. This area is secured, but I don't know for how long. The woman did not look the same. Her hair had fallen out of the bun and was poking out in a million directions, and while she still wore the ugly knee-length skirt, the jacket she'd been wearing had been shucked and a tight-fitting tank top was covered by a bulletproof vest. Seeing the guns in their hands, she rolled her eyes. Be careful with those. They aren't toys. The sisters looked at each other, snapped the safety on, expelled the clips, and returned the guns to the case. Any questions? Jacqueline asked. Sydney collected everything Mo had given them, files, cell phones, DVDs, GPS, and tossed them into a case with the guns. Handing Emmeline a key, she shoved the case's handle into Jacqueline's hand. Take the black SUV waiting out front and get out of this town. She headed for the door. I'm bending protocol. Pfft, she snorted. I'm breaking every rule in the game, but this may be my only chance to find the shooter. She gave them both a penetrating stare. If I don't, he will come after you. Keeping him on the run and getting you out of town as fast as possible is the best way to keep you safe. But, no buts, the woman turned on them. I don't have time for questions or to babysit two civilians. There are instructions and directions in Mo's case. Follow them completely if you want to survive. Now get in that car and leave. Emmeline headed for the door as fast as she could run. It made her feel oddly better to have Jacqueline running right beside her. They slid into a black Cadillac SUV waiting at the curb. Emmeline didn't wait to buckle the seatbelt. She slid the key into the ignition, fired it up, and peeled away from the curbing with no idea where they were headed. 20 minutes later, she pulled into a parking lot. Not a word had been spoken between them since leaving the law office. Both of them stared out the windshield at an empty parking lot. Any idea what just happened? Emmeline finally asked. Not a clue. Leaning her head back against the seat, Jacqueline let out a loud sigh. You think Mo was dead? Oh, hell yeah, honey. He was dead as a doornail. A surge of bile rose in Emmeline's throat. I didn't even hear the shot until after that window shattered and Mo hit the floor. Dead as a doornail? What? The woman had one eyebrow raised, staring at her. Dead. Just dead. Listen, Jacqueline, are you buying this whole sister thing, or do you think we're being played? Emmeline twisted in the seat, staring at a face that bore a remarkable resemblance to her own. Please call me Jackie, only my mother. Her voice trailed off. Emmeline put a hand on her shoulder. I'm Emme. Everybody calls me Emme. She gave an understanding smile. I sure would never have guessed that when my daddy died last Monday, I'd be sitting in Washington, D.C. parking lot with a woman that might be my sister. Monday? Your dad died on Monday? Jackie's head snapped up. Emme nodded. So did my mother. Mo didn't show us any proof except that video. Jackie unfastened her seatbelt, saying our birth certificates didn't exist. Don't you think that's an old con? I ain't much for coincidences, and I don't like being conned. I would like to try and talk to that Sydney lady. If this woman was her sister, she'd bet she'd want the same thing. Well, bang a Yui, and let's get to the bottom of this. Jackie sat up straight, attached her seatbelt again, and nodded out the windshield. You want me to bang a what? Emme asked. Flip it, make a U-turn. Jackie lifted one finger in the air, making an exaggerated circle. Oh, gotcha. And so begins their saga. Basically, if you'd like to have this book, I am on Amazon. It is available as an ebook and as a hard copy book. And to follow me, you can come to my website, which is www.jociemckade.com. And Jocie smelled the Southern way, Jocie, Mckade. I am also on Instagram, Pinterest, BookBub, Facebook, most of those platforms, and there's links to all of those from my website. And I invite you all to join my newsletter because that's the best place to find out what's going on and having giveaways and sales and updates from my personal life, which is in the Midwest of the United States. I live on a small farm that is most days affectionately, known as Dust Bunny Farm. Thank you for having me today, and God bless y'all.
Thank you again to the amazing author that read us a story, and be sure to check out all the other amazing shows on RB Media. Till next time, bye!